Live from our hurricane headquarters with real-time analysis from some of the nation's top meteorologists. This is Tracking the Tropics, powered by Bose Electric.
I'm meteorologist Rebecca Berry, and we are here in the WFLA Stream Center, and we are especially excited about this week's episode. We're talking about artificial intelligence and hurricane forecasting, and we have a special guest. Not only do we have our normal meteorologist, Juliana Mejia, but we also have Dr. Wallace Hogsett. He's the NHC Science and Operations Officer. Welcome to both of you.
Great to be here.
Yes. Thank you so much for joining us. And I just wanted to address, we did have Tropical Storm Chantal. It was a short-lived storm, and it made landfall in the Carolinas. And now we are back to looking at quiet systems and quiet conditions in the tropics, which we're very excited about. We're more excited about artificial intelligence and its inclusion into hurricane forecasting. I'm going to toss it over to Juliana to give us a quick overview. I want to remind our audience that this is an interactive program, and especially since we have Dr. Hogsett with us, I want you to really lean on his expertise. You can ask him a question and he'll be able to answer it. But in order for us to be able to see your questions, you have to use one of our branded hashtags. They're underneath our names on the screen here. So hashtag Hey Rebecca, hashtag Hey Juliana, or hashtag Hey Dr. Wallace, and we'll be able to pull your questions on screen, and Dr. Wallace will be able to answer all of our burning questions about AI and hurricane forecasting. But for now, Juliana, take it away.
Yeah, so I just wanted to, I guess, show this kind of breakdown because there's all different levels, I want to call them, to artificial intelligence at this point now. Within, now our culture, society, AI is ever present. And in general, AI is some form of a computer system, a system that can handle tasks on its own. Whereas then you take it a step further, and this is where now weather models start to dive into this sector of AI that is machine learning. It's an extension of AI. It analyzes, it learns from data that it's provided, and eventually it works to improve itself and what its output is automatically. Whereas deep learning, which is kind of what we're now dipping our toes into, is this even further level that we go into, a subset of then machine learning that generates what they're called artificial neural networks or neural networks. It almost replicates the neural processes of a human brain in a way, and it takes things a step further. The mistakes or improvements that it requires at that point starts to eliminate the need for human intervention with those kinds of AI systems. So I'm going to send it right over to our guest today to talk about the now Google forecasting model that is using AI. I'm so excited to hear all about it.
Yeah, thanks, Juliana. It's great to be here. And the first thing I want to say is that artificial intelligence is a rapidly evolving field. We're seeing new models become available almost monthly, it seems. But we at the Hurricane Center, we have been using forms of artificial intelligence for more than a decade. Relatively basic forms. And these new models that we'll talk about are a little bit more advanced in the sense that they are processing many, many decades of data very quickly. And they're enabling us, and we're just beginning the process of integrating them into our forecast processes, but they're going to give us the opportunity to process data more quickly than ever before.
And when you're starting to integrate these products, I know that's your role there, is to integrate new science into the National Hurricane Center. What are some of the things that you're excited about, that you're seeing? What can we look forward to coming out this year from the National Hurricane Center?
Yeah, the biggest thing, so we as forecasters have a large number of tools in our toolbox. You can think about observational data, satellite data, all of the models as well that have been developed over the last 40 or 50 years, as well as these new models. So I'm excited anytime there's a new tool that comes into our toolbox, and these models are very, very promising to be a powerful tool for our forecasters to use.
And I was reading up on this to try to sound smart when we were having this conversation. And one of the points that was made was that at least at first, artificial intelligence only knows what has happened because it's ingested all of this historical data. But as things evolve, they will get better. But it looks like, at least at first, it might not be good at predicting things that are out of the box or that are not typical. Is that true? Is that something that we'll see?
I don't think we really know the answer to that question yet, but the one thing that is really important is that these models, the AI models, are built on observations. They use observations to initialize the models, to begin the forecast process. And so continuing to collect observations will be very, very important as we move forward. And as further to that, these models are built upon the foundation of numerical weather prediction, which has been a focus of our field for, like I said, the last 40 or 50 years. And so both these observations and our legacy models are going to be very, very important components to enable these AI models to be as good as they can be in the coming years.
When we're looking at the Google AI model in particular, there's been, as soon as all the data was made available, the scientific world started comparing how accurate was it. It looked like it was very accurate in terms of track, but maybe a little under in terms of intensity. What's your take on how accurate the Google AI model is and what it's been offering?
Yeah, so these AI models, and Google has been a leader in developing these models over the last few years. We never like to focus on a single storm or a single track, but what we have seen over a collection of multiple years of historical forecasts is that these models are comparable, and they've become comparable in skill in a very short period of time. So that gives us hope that these models will be an important tool in our toolbox.
And what's next with this season now that you have these tools in your toolbox? Like, what are you focusing on? What are you hoping to achieve? And what are you really looking forward to with the Google AI model and the other tools that you have?
Yeah, it's an exciting time. You mentioned the Google model. We're also looking at an AI-based model from the European Center, which became operational. And NOAA has begun. In fact, there was a recent announcement about a NOAA project to really focus on AI model development. So we're going to be looking at all of these models. And the one thing I'm really excited about is that, as you mentioned, track was really the initial focus of the AI models, because the training data set that's used to build these models is relatively coarse resolution. And so tracking the center of the storm was an easier challenge to tackle. But what I'm really excited about is to see how these models can do with intensity, and then beyond that, how they can do with predicting the structure of the storm. And the reason the structure is so important is because that is what really impacts people on the ground, like your viewers in Tampa. And so, just really excited to see how we can move beyond track into intensity and into structure, so that we can really focus on the impacts that people feel.
Tampa especially would be excited to learn about if you can move into the structure of the storm, because we had such a weird season last year with Helene not really making a direct impact or a direct landfall, but we're seeing the worst storm surge flooding we've ever seen here. Mm-hmm. And then just a few weeks later, we had Milton, and that was really a windstorm for us and a surge storm to the south of us. And so the structure of the storm is so important. And when it comes down to impacts, and that's really what it comes down to for the people that have to evacuate or have to repair their homes and that sort of thing. So you can envision Google AI helping with that as well?
I can envision Google's model as well as the other models absolutely helping with that down the road. Again, continued investments in observations and legacy modeling systems that power these AI models will be really important, but absolutely I can envision them helping for the structure down the road.
And the Google AI model is getting all the press right now, but you said that you have other artificial intelligence models. You know, we've had the Euro AI for a little bit, but what else do you have in your toolbox?
Yeah, I mentioned that NOAA is beginning to develop AI modeling capabilities. This field is evolving very, very quickly, but I expect of course we partnered with Google, but every organization involved in weather modeling and forecasting will likely be developing AI capabilities in the coming years.
And how will the consumer, from meteorologists like us to people that are just hobby meteorologists, will we get these spaghetti tracks? How will we be consuming this kind of information?
Yeah, so the individual models absolutely will be available. There'll be a lot more items on the menu for people to look at. But one thing that's really important to emphasize is that a model is not the same as a forecast. Mm-hmm. And we at the Hurricane Center over the years have developed a lot of expertise in interpreting all the data that's available to us and distilling that into a concise and consistent message about impacts so that people can prepare properly. So I really don't want people to overly focus on an individual model or even an individual ensemble system, but instead, focus on hurricanes.gov, where you can get the latest on what's happening. And we're going to do our best to condense that into what people need to do in terms of taking action.
And you guys do a great job. I really like the kind of changes that you guys have made to the track over the past couple of years to try to better communicate those risks and what people can expect. And I think that this will help moving forward. But especially in Florida, we're always going to have the internet meteorologists out there as well. So it will be fun to be able to see those models. But we do, once again, want to reemphasize what Dr. Hogsett just said about, not focusing on one particular model, especially since AI is so new. We don't know what we don't know. And so we're not really sure how that's going to play out. We're all learning this together. Now, AI is learning a lot faster than we are, but we're all getting there. Juliana, you and I were talking about, if we were going to get these spaghetti plots and we were going to be able to display these for viewers. So I think this is a really exciting opportunity for all scientists, but what are you looking forward to with the Google AI model?
Myself, I think I'm really, y'all made a great point about structure and like the potential there, I think, because that's something I think personally that is a little bit of my gripe with communicating storms and storm impacts to viewers is it's really, really easy for people to get hung up on the track and to get hung up on the, what formerly we were more using was the center line and exactly pinpoint where this is going to make landfall rather than being focused on the problem, which is the impacts, and structure playing such a big role in that. And I think being able to dive a little deeper into that and forecasting a little deeper into that moving forward in the future, I think is going to be really powerful with adjusting the way that not only meteorologists, but as a community talks about these things. But also, something I did want to ask, and I don't know, Wallace, if you can speak on it at all. I've had, so many people are asking about the cost of forecasting and the cost of dropping costs as much as possible and eliminating as much cost. Do you think that leaning into AI, and it is an investment to develop these AI models, do you think, I guess in the long term, that would provide the opportunity to make things more affordable per se?
Yeah, I think it's a really good question. I think it's really important to look at this from a holistic point of view. So you'll often hear in if you're reading about AI weather prediction, you'll often hear that these models run faster and they take less computing resources than legacy models. But what's really important is that in order to run an AI model skillfully, it must be trained on many, many years of observations and analyses. And so in order to get all of the data and all of the foundational information to run the AI models, yes, they run more quickly, and potentially the computing resources may be less, but I think it's too soon to really say if the total cost of a skillful weather prediction system will be more or less because of how important the observations are.
Interesting. We have all kinds of questions pouring in for Dr. Wallace here, and so we're going to start our Q&A session. If you would like to ask a question, you have to use our hashtags, #HeyRebecca, #HeyJuliana, or #HeyDrWallace, and we will be able to pull your questions in and get them answered. And so for the first featured comment of the day, are intensity forecasts going to become less accurate with climate change? And so I think that's an interesting point because they're battling not only the warmer sea surface temperatures and the way that our Earth is changing, but is AI going to be able to sense that? And is that going to be something that AI can take into account?
I don't think we know the answer to that question yet, but most of our time at the Hurricane Center is spent looking at the next 7 days. And of course, as we're using these tools, it's really important to understand how they behave in the current climate as well as a potentially changing climate. But I think it's a little bit too early to answer that question.
Excellent. And then the next one straight up here for you, Dr. Wallace. Hey, Dr. Wallace, will AI ever replace the traditional computer models? I think I know the answer to this, but I'm interested to see what you have to say.
Another good question. I think the answer is no. And the reason is, I've mentioned it a couple times, but these AI models are built on the foundation we've built over the last many decades, and I don't see that changing. Of course, this field is changing quickly, so we'll see where things go, but I don't envision that happening.
And we were curious. We were just wondering, how does it actually look? Are you guys actually getting a computer in from Google AI? Is it code that they provide you? Or how does it actually look to the consumer when you're integrating all of this AI into the National Hurricane Center?
Yeah, we integrate the model in much the same way as we integrate other models like the GFS or the HAFS hurricane models or the European Center. So we've worked with the Google team, and we will continue to do so to make sure that we get the data in the format that integrates with our systems, so that we can look at it in the same way that we look at legacy models.
We've got another comment from one of our viewers. If it's using history, it's not surprising that Milton was underestimated. And taking Milton as part of history now, it should be getting better because it has happened stronger. And so that's an excellent point. And just like you've been talking about, Wallace, this will change. It will get better. And we don't know how much better it will get. But that comment just pointing out that now that Milton has been a part of history, the AI should be able to see that sort of intensification. How often will these update? Is it just constant?
These models can be updated more quickly than traditional models, but this year, we're really just beginning to experimentally integrate these models into our system. So it's going to be a little bit of time before we really see how they behave, how they learn.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're really early in this AI journey.
And that's what I'm glad to hear you, an expert, reiterating, because there's so many folks out there, and I get it. I understand, the excitement around it and the potential that these provide. But, I'm getting messages all the time like, wow, just use AI to make the forecast. And I have, I very rarely engage with people, but I have told a few people, I wish it were that simple, but it quite literally takes time. And that almost leads me to, a question I think we know the answer to as well. Even when we get to a point where AI is much more seamlessly integrated and likely a larger part of our forecasting, I don't envision, but I'm curious as to what you'll say, will there ever be a point where a human is not involved in the forecasting process?
I think I feel most confident in answering this question when I say absolutely not. And the reason the human will remain so important is because all of these models, I think sometimes we talk about AI as a magical, perfection machine. But the reality is these models are still models. They depend on input data.
Mm-hmm.
Our input data is not perfect. It will never be perfect. I'm hopeful that these models will help us become even better at what we do, but we still need to communicate the outputs of an imperfect model. And humans communicating to other humans, I think, is the way that communication of uncertainty happens. But I am very hopeful that the combination of these models plus humans equals a sum that's greater than the two parts together. So, I think it's a very symbiotic relationship that I'm hoping we can build.
Well, you're certainly using it at a more advanced state than we are. We're asking ChatGPT how to get people to evacuate. But what's kind of the deepest dive you're doing with AI? Can you kind of get us into the science of it and what you're working on that's like at the level that we can't even possibly understand?
Well, as it pertains to the Google model, I need to defer to the Google team. They're the ones who are building these models, as well as the NOAA teams that are doing the same. But we touched on it earlier, but really getting down to finer and finer scale of detail with the structure, the intensity, the size of an ensemble system that will help us be as reliable as possible when we talk about probabilities of hazards. Those are the kinds of things that we're going to be looking at in the next few years.
What kind of resolution could we be talking about with these models when they're running for forecasts? Because like we're impressed by 4K, resolutions on the graph. So what could we possibly be working towards in terms of resolution?
Yeah, I'll go back to the input data. I mean, these models are trained on data that is not extremely high resolution right now. But as we're able to collect more data, run historical analyses at higher and higher resolutions, we should see the resolution of the outputs increase as well. But I don't like to focus too much on the resolution itself because that's kind of a nuts and bolts thing that is not particularly pertinent to communicating the hazards ultimately to people. But you will see the resolution continue to increase.
Because I guess in that case, do we have a question?
You weigh in first, then we'll get to the question.
I guess I was curious because the idea is that with a higher resolution, it's not like it's correlated. Having higher resolution necessarily improves our input data, correct? Or would it? Isn't like I said, if we have, because I understand and I agree, it's not all about resolution. But I guess maybe the idea there is my question is, if we can improve resolution, would that then technically be improving the input?
So AI models, if I'm misinterpreting the question, let me know, but AI models essentially predict what they're trained on. So if you train a model on the GFS analysis, for example, which is a relatively coarse resolution analysis, the model will predict that.
Oh, I think we lost your audio, Dr.
That's
Wallace.
what I was curious. I think Can you hear us, Dr. Wallace? Oh, I don't know if he can hear us.
I think we have lost our audio with Dr. Wallace momentarily. It is still up on the board here. Can you hear us, Dr. Wallace?
I can hear you. Did you lose me for a minute?
We lost you for a moment. We're so happy you're back.
Okay. I apologize to you and your viewers. Where did we leave off?
We heard that whatever it's forecasted on, that's what it will forecast to. So if it's the GFS, then it would be the rather coarse resolution. And right after that, you dropped out.
Yeah, sorry about that. So yeah, the essence is that these AI models predict what they're trained on. And so as we get more and more high resolution training data, as well as more technological advances in the computing infrastructure, we will see the resolution increase, I expect.
Excellent. We'll get to our featured comment right now next. Hey, Dr. Wallace, are more private companies other than Google getting involved with AI forecasting?
Yeah, I think the answer to that is yes. I spent a lot of my career in the private sector and have a lot of friends in the private sector, and I've seen lots of press releases about lots of companies getting into the AI space.
And then we have another one for you. Hashtag, hey, Dr. Wallace. So many people hear the term AI and almost get nervous. How do you convince people to trust this tech and that it isn't scary?
Yeah, good question. I hear this one a lot, and my best advice is to really start learning about how AI works. It's scary sometimes if you think about robots roaming the streets, but if you really understand how it works, you realize that it's imperfect like other models, imperfect like we are, and the more we learn about it, I think the more comfortable we'll get with both how to make it better and also how to live in compatibly with AI.
Yeah, I think you said it well earlier too. This not only just as meteorologists, but in general, a symbiotic relationship that can exist. It's possible.
I think so.
Okay, this is the last call for questions. We're going to have to let Dr. Wallace go in just a few moments, but I wanted to give you the floor, Dr. Wallace. Do you have a message for people from you this hurricane season pertaining to the season or AI or what you're looking forward to?
Yeah, I think we've covered AI. I just want to say that it's really important for everybody, all your viewers, to stay prepared. And if you need to know what that means, go to hurricanes.gov and take a look at our preparedness resources. The season is beginning to heat up, and I just want everybody to stay safe.
Thank you so much. And it doesn't look like any more questions are rolling in, so we are going to start to wrap this up. I can't thank you enough for joining us, Wallace. It's really helpful. We pestered Mejia to get you here, and so we thank you so much for taking your time out, because it's a topic that we didn't feel quite qualified to take to task. So we really appreciate your help. And from the Stream Center, we will see you guys next week, or if anything pops up, we of course will hop right here on Tracking the Tropics and let you know. Thank you again, Dr. Wallace.
Thank you.
Find Tracking the Tropics on these platforms. And for storm updates, the latest models, and helpful resources, visit trackingthetropics.tv.